Hi everybody, this is my first video going up here on YouTube. My name is Jonathan Schrantz. I've been a teacher in the St. Louis area for over 5 years now, and I'm not a stranger to YouTube, but this is the first video on my personal channel. I will be making as much videos as I can. We'll see how many I can get out, and let me know too in the comments if you guys want me to keep doing openings. I kind of plan on doing a lot of openings for YouTube, and other than that, what other kind of content you want. I really do listen to the fans, so anything you guys say, I will give it a serious listen. But today, without skipping a beat, I do want to get into the Gellar Gambit, because I was looking at a game very recently of Magnus Carlsen, and it kind of inspired me a little bit. So I do want to jump right into this, and let me just show you guys what this Gambit is all about in as much of a video as I can. Here we go. So, the Slav. And I know there's a lot of people that have said, if it weren't for the Slav, which we're actually going to get into, the true Slav, where they take on c4, they wouldn't, they wouldn't have to play something like the exchange Slav. So I think some people are kind of already thrown off just about the Slav in general. But anyways, this is also here on Twitch, so I am reading the comments and trying to go through. But anyway, some people have told me they're very worried about this, and I myself wasn't even that really thrilled with what I have in my repertoire, but we are going to talk about the Gellar Gambit, that is right, learning chess. But the way I was playing was the normal way. You just play a4, and then after they develop their bishop, the typical way to play is you can play e3, and then try to pick up your pawn this way. That's a totally normal approach. If you like really solid play. Oh, the arrows don't just disappear when you're in a study. That's interesting. The other option is plopping this knight in here. This gets really tactical, but that's also another good reference point. Even another third move here is knight to h4. But kind of not even happy with what I've been doing in my own personal repertoire, which is just playing e4, a4, e3, taking the pawn back, playing nice and solid, and you do get a very small advantage with white, and things were kind of going fine. But I'm like, there's this game here in my database. It's Carlsen versus Yangyi, and this was from the 2019 Norway tournament. And Carlsen played the move e4. And I've always been told the Gellar Gambit is really bad. You can't play like this. Black just is truly up a pawn, so you really shouldn't do it. And I was like, okay, well, let me take a look for myself. So b5, and the real secret here, and the point of this whole blueprint series is, I kind of want to find some stuff that's not the most popular, that's not necessarily what every single person's doing or the mainline theory. Something that you can get a position that's sort of simple and hopefully easier for us to play. So I think I found a system, and by found a system, I mean stole from Carlsen a system that really works well here. The main move here is e5, which is not what Carlsen played. So we will come back to this position, if you can believe it. And which is kind of crazy because there's 600 games in the database and about 500 plus they play e5. That's just what you do. You play e5 here. Then in this position, they play knight to d5. You play a4. I'm just going to show this real quick because this isn't the theme for today. But you get this aggressive attack, so some people like to do it. Knight to g5 is also a move in the previous position here for white. But, they're going to take here, and they're going to take back. And you're going to hop in. And you're going to get this nice aggressive attack, so you can kind of tell why people would like to play this way. You get to make some threats. But at the end of the day, according to theory at least, this should just be totally fine. I think it's bishop to d5 here. There's like bishop f3, and there's probably castling. There's some other moves here. And you get some position like this. And at the end of the day, the computers always say, well, you're down a pawn, and with best play, this should just be great for black because you're up a pawn after all. So I can't believe Carlsen went in for this. I think, good people don't know it, so maybe he's going to come up with something. But then I was shocked here. He did something which was so simple and really elegant in my mind. He just plays a very simple move, and now we're kind of almost almost out of the book already. But yeah, we're going from 600 to 700 games to 80 or less games in the database here. He plays bishop e2 and castles. So it's remarkable. These top guys, they're so good. They just find in normal positions where everybody else, they see the position and they think, well, it's white's turn. He's going to go get the initiative. He's got to attack now. You're down a pawn. Start the action. But if you start the action, it really doesn't work out objectively for white. So he plays bishop e2 and he castles. And this is his game against Yangyi, and he tore it up the Norway tournament that he played this in. This was just last year in 2019, and he was like +6 and destroyed the tournament and won by a good margin. So, yeah, it was this position, and already this is where we're jumping in. This is where we're going to start. I think a lot of people might get surprised if you're playing this and they play the Slav, even if they know it pretty well. This is already kind of a little bit offbeat, and because of that, it's good and bad. The good is there's not that much to study because there's not that much theory out there available, which means it's easy to learn. You can learn it in one lesson, and then you can take it all away with you and have a good game the next time you face this. And that's also the bad, because if theory was more developed, we'd be able to learn a bit more, and there'd be more to understand about the different plans and stuff like that. But I do like this, and I do want to start our intro game here as being the Magnus game. And then we're going to look at what is the main line, because Yangyi actually played something here that actually scores horrible for black, something like it's 65% white wins. The move that he played was b4. So very interesting and very forceful move. This is obviously asking white to do something right away. And then for the remainder of our lecture, we're going to look at e6, after which this is what most people do. So out of our 80 games, about 50 of them are e6. Most of the others are b4, and some other random stuff is in there as well. But let's start off here. Let's just see what happens if we ask the question to the knight right away. And again, it was something like 16 games. There's one main move, and then like 4 games, the Carlsen move. So he's really finding ways of getting people out of the book here as early as possible. So take the pawn with the bishop. Your knight is hanging. I don't know if this is intended as a sacrifice. We did have a suggestion here, but the knight is hanging. So you really got to do something. And then knight on g5. Okay. So this was suggested. I don't understand the follow-up if I play like this. So I feel like I took your knight and then stopped your threat. So I don't think this is going to get it done. But the main move, which Carlsen didn't play, is sort of, I guess, the obvious move. The main move here is your knight's decked. Move it away. That's not what he played, though. What he played was actually e5, a counterattack. So suggested by Travis in the chat. But let me take a very, very quick look here. And again, there's not much theory, so there's not like a whole lot to look at. But okay, this move makes sense. And the main point is after captures, probably e6, something like we're going to castle, get this bishop out. They're going to castle. I believe it went rook e1 here. And then get your stuff out. So you can get a position similar to this. Maybe they can castle. Maybe they can bring their knight out. Can't really remember what they do. But you get a position similar to this with a knight going to e5. And this also should be pretty good for white. I think this is a very reasonable attempt to get an advantage. You got the isolated queen pawn, and you got your pieces to all the normal active squares. A rook went to e1, a knight went to e5, a bishop went to g5. Should have decent attacking chances. Maybe this knight is a little bit offside, but maybe black has weakened a lot of squares on the queen side. Like, noticeably, c4 is ours. We could possibly try to control c5 for a good portion of the game. So something like this is possible, and this is the way that people typically play as white. Looks very good, looks totally reasonable, and worth giving a try. But what about this move e5? What about this move? It's very interesting. So, yeah, now we get down to basically there's a Carlsen game and then just a bunch, and by a bunch I mean like 1 or 2 lower rated games in this position. So, but hey, Carlsen got here, he got some position. Black took. White took. Very simple. And already kind of interesting, if I remember right, nobody's ever taken on b2, the greedy move, in this position. What happened in the game, just to show you quickly, he took, Carlsen takes back, we get this nice solid position, and the basic plans will start to form, and we'll talk about them. I will ask the chat, though, would you guys take on b2? It's possible. I don't know if it's better or worse than what was played in the game, but just to kind of take a look at this, one of the problem pieces for white, is this bishop. It doesn't really belong here, doesn't really belong here, doesn't really belong here. Doesn't really belong here. Can't here, because, I mean, black's going to stop this move. It does belong on f4, but not if black stops it on the next move, which is what he does. So kind of, this guy ends up being sort of a problem piece. So if you do take here, So maybe not, because taking on f6, open the files in front of the king. Yeah, but f6, it also is very solid. So let's just focus on what happened in the game. He didn't take, but maybe this bishop would be good and active, and also white would be wasting a little bit more time if he did take. So could possibly have an initiative there. But yeah, no, this capture actually makes the king a little bit safer, I would say. The normal, typical checkmating attacks that maybe would get in some of the other lines are going to be a little bit harder. You know, a lot of the lines are going to have a move like knight to g5. That's off the table. Knight to e5 is usually a pretty good move. That's off the table. We saw in the main line bishop g5 was a move. That's off the table. So this actually is doing a very good job. One potential problem is you don't have a knight. Maybe the h7 pawn is a little bit weak if somehow this bishop gets on this diagonal and the queen gets here. But even then, probably h6. So it doesn't look like a kingside attack is really what's going on here. And like I said, black stopped the one active move for the white bishop. Oh, how come sometimes I can get rid of arrows and sometimes I can't? It's very frustrating. He takes away the move. He also aims his bishop up right here. And now we kind of see it settle down and become a game. Anyways, castles, castles. And for the first time, let's come up with a plan here. I did go over this last night with the chat. People may have seen this one game, but I do have 3 more after this. But can anybody kind of figure out what's the plan here? I think now for the next couple moves, Magnus did do some things that perhaps you wouldn't think of at first. Excuse me. He comes up with a lot of good moves here. Excuse me. Whew. Note to self, next time, bring water. All right. So there's a lot of very reasonable moves. I think maybe the most obvious. I'm going to die here. Maybe the most obvious move is taking on c4. All right, wait a minute. Just a second. I'll be right back. We got rook to b1 being suggested in the chat by Learning Chess. So rook b1. Rooks do belong on open files, so I do generally like the idea. I don't know how good it is. So for one thing, I'm trying to decide what I should do with this guy. Part of me wants to go here, try to defend this pawn, which I realize could be attacked 2 different ways, so maybe I'm not going to be able to keep the pawn forever. Another part of me wants to play here and just kind of poke at you and say, why'd you put your rook there? Because where are you going to go? You're not going to go back to a1. I mean, you didn't go to b1 to go back to a1. I guess you have to go to b2, but I guess, I don't know. If you go here, I'm a little bit worried about this guy. I'm trying to, trying to go here and go back and trap your rook. So I am a little bit worried. A little bit worried that this move might actually give black sort of an initiative. I feel like part of the point is, it has something to do with this pawn. We want to go get our pawn back. We are 2 pawns down? No. 1 pawn down? That sounds more like it. Let's see. 3 over here. 3 over here. 3 over here. 4 over here. So black's extra pawn is also a double pawn, so if we get this pawn back, we should have the better structure. And he didn't actually take right away, although it probably is possible. But I think he was maybe thinking, okay, bishop on this diagonal, maybe not best. He actually, I think he maybe had it in his mind, you know, there's no real attacking prospects, but I should put a lot of pressure on that queen side. There is a lot of weaknesses. All of these pawns potentially could end up being weak. So he plays a really nice move, knight to d2, which intends not only to take this with a knight, but to put the bishop on f3. And so instead of looking at the king, aiming the pieces at the queen side, you know, knight's going to go to c4 with a tempo, attacking the bishop, forcing the bishop to move. You know, then if this bishop moves, maybe this bishop can sneak onto this diagonal, all this sorts of stuff. So rook e1, kind of being sneaky. I think if here, maybe there's a little threat. Possibly you can back up, but possibly the point is bishop to a6. Where, you know, this pin could be annoying. I guess you can move away right away. You can move something. But Carlsen played rook to e1. Looks very nice. He's just moving out of the way. Yeah, rook takes e2. We had a look last night because this is the more interesting line. And we figured out that this actually doesn't work. So if you take it back, and the point was to play here, there's this pin, which looks horrible. But I think, if I can remember right, one of Black's plans was to play here and just keep this guy here forever and then attack it again. So I think it was a4 was the main thing we came up with. And if here, I don't know, do you have to play a5 here? It also gives you this square for the queen. But yeah, I think the key move is a4. I don't know. I'm going to play here because it looks safest. a5 might also be a possible move. But you can get out of the pin this way and then move your rook into the game. So, yeah, it looks like, it looks at first like maybe this is a little trap. And possibly this was sort of on Carlsen's radar too. So definitely in this position, rook e1 is very safe, just taking away that trick. But I think you can take there on c4. So, knight out. This knight is headed towards the center. And now he takes. Attacks the bishop. Bishop moves away. Bishop f3. Attacking the pawn. Though it's not as easy as it might first seem. It looks like you gotta do something. Do you have to play a silly move? Do you have to put this bishop on this dumb diagonal? Nope, don't have to do it. You can actually play here. Attack the knight. Knight's gotta move away. Knight e3, a very good square. We're looking at some central squares. You know, you'd like to see the knight go to f5, maybe if there's ever going to be an attack or something. And now here, a little trap. A little trap. The knight is going to the square it wants to go to. Does white want to take this pawn? Anybody want to take the pawn? Or is there something devious going on? Carlsen did not take it. You know, he didn't take it. I don't get it. Sometimes you click a piece, arrows go away. Sometimes they don't. But no, you can't take the pawn. You can't take the pawn. Queen d6. Threatens here and checkmate. So you would lose a piece this way. So anyway, so he develops the bishop. And yeah, all in all. So he played this opening. He played it very simple from the start. And suddenly, I mean, white is just a little bit better. And the whole story of this game is white was a little bit better and just had pressure on the c-pawn the entire game. And, you know, eventually, I mean, black defended very well. Yangyi, obviously, super strong defensive player. But it just wasn't forever. And here again, Carlsen played an amazing move. So I will give you guys a chance here. I think there's a couple candidate moves that kind of spring to mind. Does anybody want to suggest a move here? I think this is a critical point. If you're on YouTube, you can even pause, take a look around. You can spend as much time as you want. But yeah, Carlsen, unsurprisingly, finds a really good move here that kind of shocked me when I first saw it. I think probably the first thing you might look at is that pawn on c6. I feel like that's very reasonable. Like that's a very good starting point. You know, why don't we take on c6? You might also look and, okay, why don't I take on c4? Why don't I take the knight? Maybe I just need to move my bishop to bishop that's on a3 is attacked. Maybe you need to move it. You know, so there's a lot going on here. And he plays a move that is pretty tactical. Anyway, Carlsen played queen to d3, which is fantastic. It's really complicated. I didn't see it coming the first time I saw this game. I was shocked. The white queen moves to the same diagonal as the bishop. So you're looking around for tricks, you know. I'm looking around. Is there any good knight move? Is there something crazy? You know, is there some funky knight jump? What can we do? And I just don't see any. Possible was here, and I think this actually is strong, but it relies on a lot of tactics, because the main move, what was the computer move? The computer move was like insane here. Like you can't play like a computer. I might have to turn it on. You just can't do it. But yeah, I think it's here. And then, obviously, king h1, only move. The point is, if you take queen to c7, and you get the bishop. So, king h1, and then here, and then, obviously, the best move for white. Super easy. Obvious was queen to a4. Everybody saw it coming. Now, obviously, this is some crazy computer stuff, and then white's like better. I don't know if white's winning or whatever, but this is everything is attacked. This is now attacked. This is attacked. This is attacked. This is attacked. This is attacked. And so like white's better, and just like I don't even know what you do. Maybe you try to play like f5 queen in here or something, but hard to play like this in a real game. And that's not the only line. That's just like the main computer line. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. But queen d3 is simply an advantage for white. And yeah, big threat. We're just going to take on c4. Have to deal with it. So kind of the only move here is to take on e3. And again, when you look at it, it's not so easy to know which way you should take. I don't think it's really that easy at all. And again, I'll ask the chat and pause at home. I think they're just different, but what would you guys prefer? Would you guys take with a pawn, or would you take with a rook? You might need to kind of look deep. Pawn seems natural, but I mean, take a deep look. See if you can calculate a couple moves. What would happen if you take with a pawn? Because yeah, Black obviously had something in mind. He's a good player. All right. Hopefully you're finished at home on YouTube. If you take with a pawn, which Carlsen didn't, he took with a rook. I think taking with a rook is it's a very good choice. They're both playable though. So if here, I believe you can now take the bishop. This is the point. You're aiming at c2. So when white takes, you go in here and you get the exchange back. So that's not the end of the world. You can move, get the exchange, and take it from here. This thing's still weak. And your structure's kind of changed a little bit. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Nobody knows. No, this is fine. Obviously, white's still better here. But he actually took with the rook. So, yeah, very interesting. Knight takes. And now, obviously, we're going to take, not the knight, but the bishop. Now, knight's going to move away. Rook's got to move. Take, and the line goes further. I don't know how much you guys calculated. Queen d6, trading off the queens because you're attacking h2. So you get to this position, and white's doing well. This is just still slightly better. And again, you can pause your videos at home. Looks like I'm not getting a whole lot of responses in the Twitch chat, but again, kind of think here what you would do. The answer might surprise you. I think a lot of us would not do what Carlsen did. I think a lot of us would take this pawn. It just seems like something that people would do. And if you're here, and this is very possible. This was a playable variation, but it's opposite bishops. You got your pawn now. You got these two center pawns, but this guy is really doing a good job blockading. The rook is not coming on this way. You know, black can already just play here, conquer this file. So black's going to have the file. You don't have access to either way. Don't think it's going to be so easy to make progress here. So I do like what Carlsen did. He pushes the pawn. He plays c4. He's going to play c5 and keep this guy. That guy's weak. He's not going to move. You play c5, the c pawn stays on c6, and, you know, if he has got to defend it, he's got to feel bad. You push him around, and, yeah, it's just simple endgame technique for a guy like Carlsen at this point. You bring the king in. You want to go over to the file, but otherwise you don't want the rook to target the pawn right away. So you bring the king. Now, you want to keep this bishop eyeing this guy. So what do? You play h3. And now the king's protecting the pawn. Your rook can go over to the b file, get some activity, and go here. The rook was threatening to come here, so white shuts it down. Now, just really admirable technique here, too. So, hey, B8 Checkmate recognizes this game. He was here last night. Thanks for coming, B8. We are recording for YouTube right now, so I do appreciate you coming by. And yeah, we saw this last night, so we won't go through it in too much detail. But white is now winning, and then went on to just win this game in a really nice fashion. So I really admire this game. So it made me wonder, you know, what is it about this particular? Is there something to this? Is there something to this? You know, bishop to e2. But I had to ask myself, you know, most people aren't playing b5. I know you, Yangyi, did it. But what else? So I've kind of broken down. I want to look at this at a couple more games here. So this will be new for b8. Bishop to e2. e6, though. This is what everybody's really doing. So if you play this, what people are really going to do is they're going to play e6. And I've broken it down into two main ways of playing. Black is either going to play on the queen side. He's going to develop bishop to b7 first, and then possibly try to solidify and do this on the queen side. Or black's going to play on the king side first. So depending on what the opponent does, white is going to have some different opportunities. Some of them are going to involve attacking on the king side for white, and some of them are going to have queen side implications, either a4, b3. And I kind of want to break down when to do what. So in this position, obviously our point is just a castle. And starting first with what to do if black plays on the queen side, bishop to b7. Here's the starting point for sort of the queen side play. There is here, I found a really, really good move here. And I think there's been a lot of things, so I looked at a few things. The move I want to look at is they start on the queen side, you immediately attack the queen side. You play b3. There were other options, a4 and bishop g5. Queen c2, I think, was played by Yangyi, so there's something about c2. But this seems to get the job done pretty easily. And after b3, there's 3 responses from black. So we'll look at some of them. The main game I want to look at featured this move. So bishop to b4 makes a lot of sense. As soon as that b-pawn moves, you attack the knight. And it gets very sharp and very interesting very quickly. Why not bishop to g5 before knight f3? Because then, before knight to f3, because then we'd be playing a very different opening. And it's not obvious yet that the bishop belongs on g5. Is that what you meant? Bishop to g5 in this position? I don't know. It's going back. It's going back quite a bit. Yes, this is the Gellar Gambit in the Slav. So you can kind of see there on the screen the starting position. But yeah, after castles, they play on the queen side. We play on the queen side with the move b3. Another possible move is b4, which when I first saw it, I'm like, wait a minute. You play b4, you play c3, you just cement that in there. Easy, easy win for black, right? And before that also, I mean, what if they just take here? So in no particular order, let's go through some of these. I think if they take here, I think you already have a super strong move here that, I don't know, I'd be terrified. d5, just going for it, you know? If they take on b3, you just go for it, you break it up, and I think that's where I ended my analysis. I don't know if there was that many games here, so feel free to try to play this as black, it gets really hard. You're a long way from castling. You got to get a bishop out and castle, and white is just going to start attacking stuff. So this is probably not the best way to do this as black. I assume something like here. Here. Now, I don't know. Bishop e7? I don't know. I'd like to know what people would try to do. You can't really take here. That's going to fall apart too fast. You got to keep this all closed and go for something like this. And I don't know. This is all weak and stuff. Maybe this is the best you can do. Maybe bishop takes, maybe knight takes. I don't know. Rook's coming in. Bishop's coming out. Should be some activity and some stuff here. But maybe this is playable for black. But probably there's stronger ways for white to play too. But it's not really the critical line. So just remember, if they take here, just push. Just go for it. I do want to focus a little more heavily on b4, because I saw this, and I was like, wait a minute. b4. This is so easy. Knight moves away. You play c3. You win. This is easy, right? But then I saw a game from Aram Hakobyan, who's actually played in St. Louis a couple of times, and he was playing Lance Henderson de la Fuente. So I did really like this game. This was also a game from 2019. I think a lot of these openings are from just last year. It's a very recent thing, and there's not many games in this line, so it's kind of a, I wouldn't say it's trendy, but it's a thing that like is sort of recent and discoverable. But, all right, can't move the knight away. So again, it's this idea. You counterattack. When they attack your knight with b4, you play e5, and you attack their knight. The knight has to go here. If you go here, I think this was actually pretty strong. Looking at it for another time, I'm wondering what happens if c3. But as I've already indicated to myself, knight to g5 is a very strong move. So this already sets up kind of a lot of threats. You know, you're aiming at all of these things. The bishop's coming in. Looks very scary. You hope for a move like h6, because there's probably going to be a capture on e6. Probably h6. Knight takes e6. If they play some sort of sensible move, it might be sacrifice time. And might be bishop in time. I don't know. This just looks so incredibly appealing. I think usually bishop to c4, so you can bring a knight in here, or a queen, whatever this piece is called. Don't know. Looks very scary. Yeah, also possible was here, the idea of here, and then having a look around, just kind of chilling out. Looking at these things, it's not going to be so easy. It's not going to be easy. Also possible is taking here. Also possible is queen f3. You know, it looks very dangerous. So, you just get to attack, which is why it sort of behooves black, and this is what was played in the game, to put that knight here. And I did have one blitz game before the stream started, and I got this position, and I had seen this game. I had just seen it. So I copied what this guy did, and then I won easily. So copy this game. You might win a blitz game. All right. Takes. Take it back. Now we're getting this c-pawn. So yeah. And I wouldn't exactly call this an ending. This is still a very complicated middle game. In this case, it looks like white actually is going to get to play for an attack. So black's getting ready to castle. There's no semi-joking when we play the semi-Slav. This is the real Slav, so there's no joking. Okay? Save your semi-joking for the semi-Slav. But white's main idea, here's how he's going to get an attack. He's first going to play bishop to e3, knight to d2, queen in, and then take it from there. This bishop might come back. You can kind of get the idea of how an attack is going to get started. Bishops are going to get attacked. You're going to be going here. You're going to try to be forcing some sort of concession. The rooks, how are they going to come in? Somehow these rooks, get all the rooks over here and attack! So we will see all of that. Bishop to e3. That was the first move. It's Z Nation. Good to have you on while I'm recording my first YouTube video. Good to see you, buddy. Castles, 92. All according to the plan. And actually, so I had all this. I had just prepared this whole game, and then I played my blitz game, and the guy played knight to c6 here, which is just kind of an inferior version of what happens in the game. So knight to d7. The idea kind of being that the knight can go here. So on c6, it attacks this, but it doesn't really matter because white's next move is queen to g4. So you can kind of tell. If the knight's here, if the knight is here, this pawn's protected enough, and everything was fine for me in my game. But this also sets up the threat of bishop to h6. So you're looking to go here to force g6, and you might win in exchange. So black scooted over, and a move which I didn't understand in the game, but I did understand after I played my first game in this position. So, I'm looking around, and I'm trying to find some, real aggressive, something. Didn't know what to do. Maybe I should start with bishop here. Maybe I should start with queen here. What should you do? He played rook f to c1, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it until I played a game, and my opponent had a rook on the c file. Then I got it, because my opponent had a rook, and it did come in here, and I was like, oh, that was annoying. I wish I had copied this guy a little bit better and put my rook on the c file. Turns out that's where it belongs. Get your rook on that c file. All right, this move, I don't know if it makes the most sense, but okay. Back to the aggression. C file conquered. Back to the king. Bishop d3. Queen h3. The other rook was also fine. I think the computer wanted the other rook. So I'm not 100% sure why he did it. I think maybe he was intending on the other rook, possibly in some line going here, or if a3 was ever played, the rook on the a file might serve a purpose. But possibly this rook is just better because, maybe it's more likely this rook will come up and over or come to the middle and protect the pawn, swing up and over. So very possibly a small improvement is that the move by Z Nation. Yes, so this will all be available on YouTube. You can do !YouTube and get the link. So bishop d3. And a couple of these black moves too didn't make as much sense to me as I would have thought, but queen to h3, attacking the h-pawn, forcing you to do something about it. Played g6, and now it's just kind of a matter of filling in the holes. Bishop to h6. Rook's got to move. And now another nice move. Bishop to e4. And kind of look at how he controls these light squares. He plays here, and after a move, queen to f3. So I did all this in my game because I said, hey, this guy played bishop to e4, then he played queen f3. So I copied this guy. Brilliant success. I recommend it. But yeah, threatening to win the bishop, forcing the trade. Knight is jumping in. All sorts of stuff is happening. In some dream world. It's hard for black because these pieces are doing kind of a good job controlling stuff. But what if they ever want to move? Then it's, if this knight ever gets to jump in here, it's going to be some dangerous, dangerous business. But, all right. Rook moved. And this game went on for a while. But let's just enjoy how it just sort of naturally flows. And kind of as I said, hanging a pawn, obviously it looks like we can take it. But as we noticed, this guy, he's got to stay guarding these squares. So if you take this pawn, big time fork, could be in a lot of trouble. But yeah, pawn's attacked, pawn's defended, h5 still coming, still cannot take here. So I think this is still looking pretty strong, attacking here. And I don't know, just go back in, I guess. So he still can't take the h-pawn. He's trying to get a passer going. h5. And he's also just going to play. He's going to move this g-pawn. The king's going to go up. Rooks are going to go to the h-file. This is going to be bad. He opens it up. g4. Stop the passer. Then I think here he missed like super easy move. Rook c2 is like super winning. But this wins too. Get your guy over. Get your king up. Go on the h-file. Go for the checkmate. Really good stuff. Now, time for some tactics. Play a little bit flashy. Trying to get rid of this communication between the queens. We're trying to play like knight f6, but we don't want queens popping in. So he got some time. Swung the queen over. Very dangerous stuff. And yeah, this is just over. White's going to win this. You know? All right. Getting a little dangerous. This guy, getting a little dangerous, but collecting a lot of stuff. And knight's protected. Nothing is really happening here, except for one guy's winning. Yeah. Won some material there. All brilliant stuff. So, yeah, king gets too exposed after this. And so, that's why. Right here, black gave it up. So really, really, really nice win. And going back, it's all relatively straightforward. It's good to be the side that gets to attack. So just backing it up to this one variation again. If they, if they play b4 here, you attack their knight, and you get to do all the fun. You get to have all the fun. Look at how much fun, you know? Look at how much fun you get to have, you know? It's just amazing. You do all that. Just follow those arrows. Simple stuff. But yeah, when you're the one attacking, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot easier to play, and a lot of people are going to mess up. It's not easy to defend that forever. So anyway, back to our normal position here. They play on the queen side. We're looking at the bishop to b7. They play on the queen side, so we play, of course, b3, attacking. And the only other move left unexplored here is bishop to b4. And I do want to show another game. This was a game. It was a Rapport game. No, it wasn't. This is Dubov versus Postny. I think there's a Rapport game in here somewhere. So maybe we're skipping some games. But oh no, we haven't gotten to the king side stuff yet. So this is our last of the queen side games. What happens if we play b3? They play bishop to b4. That attacks our knight. Well, Dubov Postny, which was 2018, so before the Magnus game, an amazing move. Already played, you know. I don't know what you guys are thinking about. Maybe you're thinking queen c2, bishop e2, bishop d2. What are we going to do? Looks like, in either case, he could take our knight, take our e-pawn. Doesn't look right. So what do? The same thing. The same thing we always do. They attack our knight. We attack their knight. It's easy. It's always the same. But here, it's even more amazing, because now they take our knight, and they attack our rook. So, but this is playable. You can play here, and now, what would you do as black? Okay, kind of shocking. Took here. Anybody want to take this rook? Look at that rook. Who wouldn't want to take that rook? But might be a big mistake. Boom. Take on g7. Okay, everybody saw this much. Everybody saw this much. But now, bishop g5. Attacks the queen, attacks the bishop. But looks like black has a little resource, a little boop. Attack your bishop. Your bishop's going to move away. I'm going to move the bishop on a1. Everything's going to be fine. Well, let's go somewhere. I think I can go here. Let's go. Let's just move this guy somewhere. And then I think what I looked at was here. This looks a lot more promising. Now you have ideas of like here, check, and your pieces. If you can get this guy to become a queen, you're going to win. So bishop somewhere, and I think it was here. But a little check coming in. I don't know. Looks super dangerous. What am I missing? Should be 2. Maybe it's not the knight move. What do you do here as white? Quick, chat, help me out. Probably take on c4, but maybe it's queen c2. Maybe this, I don't know. Probably queen c2 actually, right? Attack the bishop, attack this pawn. Looks pretty tough. If king ever ends up here, I'm gonna have a check here at some point. I don't know, but this should be good for white. I would hate to be black. That pawn there. So he didn't do it. He took this way. Rook b1. And now c5. So still very complicated, but it's no longer so easy for black to castle. Black's kind of going to be stuck in the center, so again, it's going to be kind of an example of basically every single time they play on the queen side first, there's some king side attack for white. If black ever goes queen side first, starts with bishop to b7, does everything over there, he just gets attacked in every line. In this game, what I did like was black played really well for a lot of moves. Takes was correct. Takes is correct. This is correct. All these moves were correct for a long time, and then there was one slip, and then it kind of ended abruptly. Because it's hard to play, even in long games. This was correct even. So here, stopping the knight from developing because he's got to stay connected to the bishop. There's no real good opportunities of attacking the rook here. The rook's actually pretty safe because you got moves like bishop to a3. And if you had to move your rook going over there, it's not so bad either. So, and I think the computer said this is fine for black, but really, it's just so hard to play. Bishop to e4. Again, wonderful defense. Bishop to d3. And I think it was here that taking is sort of the start. Maybe not the losing move, but sort of the start of problems. Got to go back. But not easy. I mean, what do you do here? What do you do if you're black? Try knight a6, and I think it's already kind of where it starts to go wrong, if you can believe it. Seems normal. You want to attack the rook. You want to jump in here, But, yeah. Rook just moves away. And watch how easy it really is. This move is very sneaky. This was a very sneaky move. It sets up a lot of tricks based on knight to f5 at some points. So we will kind of see that in the game. Knight h4 was a very, very sneaky move. Bishop out. I don't know. Don't know what black's going to do. Doesn't look so easy. Doesn't look like a lot of fun to play black. So now, queen g3. So notice that. Knight's out of the way. Queen's sneaking in. Queen's sneaking in. Don't forget about this move. It's possible. All right. Takes. Which loses. Where's the queen really going to go? Boop. Threatening checkmate. And threatens a knight too, just in case. But yeah. And now it's over already. So it wasn't easy with the king stuck in the middle. White just got a nice little attack going and resigned, because what is there to do? Lost some material. And the funny thing is, too, I told you about this. This is a threat against, like, most random moves. So, I forget, I think it was, like, here. Is this where there's, like, a really mean move? It's here where there's a really mean move. At some point, some really mean move. Like, not the only move you can take this knight, but this move is mean, so. Okay. So yeah, another good win. But essentially, if they play on the queen side, let's just back up one last time. Anything they do on the queen side, they play bishop to b7, and you get this position where there's 3 moves. There's going to be an attack early on. If they take, you're going to play in the center. If they push, you play e5, and if they play here, you play e5. And so you kind of gotta know about this one. But yeah, so that sort of wraps it up for if they play on the queen side first. And I do want to finish with possibly the nicest game. This is, I mean, another really high-level encounter. This is Adhiban versus Rapport. This was from the Reykjavik Open in 2018. So let's go over one last game here, guys. I appreciate you staying with me. We get back to our main position. So remember, the key is we played bishop e2. We castled. We didn't play e5 and go crazy right away. We just kind of waited. And now bishop to e7. So at least this time, black's going to get castled, and we'll see how that turns out. So now it's not about b3. When they play this way, the one thing you got to remember is now it's about a4. So they go start with bishop to e7, you play a4. Start with bishop to b7, you play b3. All right. And this is pretty much the only move that's ever been played. And you attack the knight. So it's again, they attack your knight. It's very simple. You just remember the same thing. They attack you. They play b4. You play e5. They take you. You take them. A little bit different this time because now they take with the bishop. You take back with the pawn. We get sort of the same structure. This is kind of the same thing that happened in the Magnus game that we saw at the very start. The difference is this pawn was back on a2, which is actually probably an advantage for white to have the pawn on a4. Now when the bishop goes to this diagonal, it's, you know, it's going to look pretty good. So we are kind of threatening to go here right away too. And the other difference is this bishop didn't go to d6. Now it's on f6. So will this piece have any potential here? Looking at this wall, will you ever be able to chip away? Or is this piece actually going to be a little out of place over there? Let's see what happens. Defends the pawn. And I do like what happens here. This is not the crazy double queen sacrifice. This is just the somehow easily beat the other person game. This isn't from 2 months ago. This is from 2018. This is from the Reykjavik Open. Knight e5 was played, and then black made a decision to just go for an endgame here now. Possibly it's time to get castled. You know, black, you should probably just get castled. But it's playing very similar to the Magnus game, where instead of going to d2, he went to e5. But the point is, the knight can take this pawn. Eventually, this bishop can attack the queen side. He's going to play bishop to f3. But interesting choice. Goes right for this endgame. And we've spent all of our time developing our stuff to very normal spots. So, turns out this is very good for white. Possibly winning already. Like, this is very bad. And I just want to play through this game because it all happened just so beautifully. You know, black makes some normal moves. Attack the pawn. You know, attack the pawn. Normal. f4. Defend your pawn. Very normal. And we see this maneuver again by black. You know, you're going to just bring your knight out, put your knight in the center. It all makes a lot of sense. Before the knight gets to go in, though, the rook hops in. So we got to start targeting these pawns. Every pawn on the queen side is always a weakness. So it's kind of funny. It's like they play on the queen side, you get a king side attack. They play on the king side, you get a queen side attack. Which they're already down some tempi, so whatever side they go to, attack the other side. It's kind of the way this opening works. Just gets castled. Possible to take this, but you do lose the file. And there's something about being a good player. Oops, sorry. They just don't like giving up files for free. They just don't do it. They improve their pieces. So, bishop to f3. We knew the bishop was going to that diagonal. And a blunder. Just, I think you have to play knight d5 and give up the c-pawn. And it's not easy, because then, you know, I think you have to play here and here. And it's like, you're going to move this bishop, and the other guy's going to fall. And I don't know. It's not fun. Just not fun for black. So instead he played here, which is just a miscalculation. So here I really do hope. I do hope there's somebody here in the chat that can take a look here and find the tactic and win this game. So take a minute here. If you're watching on YouTube, please pause. Try to find this neat little combo. How do you think this game kind of wrapped up here? You know, it just sort of, it's easy. You just attack the weak things. I'll give you the first move. First move is the obvious looking move. And it attacks the bishop, so black's move here is forced. I mean, you gotta go back. And now, you just want to play rook takes c4. You just want to stay on the 7th rank, play rook to c7. Rook d7, do you mean c7? You know, I mean, this looks like a tempting move. This looks like a tempting move. Now that I'm looking at it, I know what the real move is, but I'm also looking at rook to b1 now, with the point that if you take, I take with a bishop, attacks your rook. That also looks like a tactic. This knight will have to move to protect the rooks. But it's not as good as what was played in the game. What was played in the game was just very, very strong. Rook takes knight. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, rook takes knight. Super winning. If you take with the bishop, you lose the rook. In the game, he took with the rook, but now you're not going to last very long. He took. You get the file. And so it's 2 bishops versus a rook, but the bishops are awesome. This guy is going to go attack this guy. There's no way to even really protect it. So in. You're essentially a super GM, is what it means. Attacks the rook, protects the pawn. I mean, look at these bishops. Gorgeous pieces. And now, you just take here. Did black get some counterplay? Did you slip up? Nope. Easy. You just defend, and these pawns are going to run. So, a5. And here, he made his move. And then he resigned. But it's pretty straightforward now. This bishop's going here. This rook's going here. If you get the rook behind the pawn, it's going to be kind of an easy win. So if you ever have to go here, trade rooks. If we trade one pair of rooks, then this thing is going to be weak. We're just going to take that thing, and you're going to have these 2 guys. So gave it up right here. So I do hope you guys did enjoy that. This is going to be the first video that's going to go up on YouTube. So hopefully for you guys watching on Twitch right now, I can get it up tonight. But I've never put a video on YouTube, so we'll see. It'll be tonight or tomorrow night, and then we'll get it up on YouTube for you so you guys can watch it there. I do appreciate all the support. I appreciate everybody that subscribes to my channel because we're just starting out, so hopefully I can make content. Starting out, it's going to be slow going, so hopefully I can get something up every week or so. But let me know, what do you guys want? I'm obviously very interested in doing openings. If you guys did like this and you think this is a good idea, let me know what kind of openings you want to see, because I really do take suggestions, so whatever you guys want, I really might end up making a video on it. Or would you rather see me, play some chess games, something like that? Do let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.